Hi guys, Asmo here, and today I want to talk about the controversy that started because of the people being exposed to Chinese slash Tencent version of PoE. There is a race coming to the Tencent PoE Chinese version of PoE, which will happen on this Saturday, so tomorrow. And people are basically being, for the first time, a lot of people exposed to how the PoE looks over there, and it's quite different. There are a lot of differences, and there are also a lot of misconceptions that people have, and like it just takes 5 minutes to read and check all of this, and people still like don't understand what's going on. So I'm gonna shed a little bit light on that and give my take on what I think about the whole issue of PoE quality of life changes that are present on China and not present on the global realms for PoE. So first of all, first misconception that I want to address is that this event is not organized by Tencent, right? As we can see, this is an event organized by whether SCS PvP, whether it's a person or a group. This is like a community organized event, just like the method races, for example, were on the global version of PoE. This is run in a private league made by SCS PvP. It's an invitational tournament. They're putting some money into it. They're getting like some community managers from Tencent to help them, for example, maybe with like in-game rewards, or maybe with like contacting the Western players and inviting them, getting them accounts, because a private person or a company or a group of people organizing the race like that, they don't have access to like give Western people Chinese accounts. So that's why the community managers from Tencent were contacting players, the racers from the global PoE scene, and helping them get the accounts, get set up so that they can also participate in this community organized event. So people saying how like this Chinese PoE, like Tencent is organizing the race, that's actually not the case. As you can see, I don't know Chinese, but from the very bad translation of that Google does of this, you can clearly tell that this is a community organized event. And if I'm wrong, if there is some details here that I'm not seeing, you can correct me in the comments below. So feel free to let me know as well. So that's first thing that people really didn't get straight. Second thing is there are a lot of differences. Some of the differences between the PoE in China and in global are because of the Chinese law. They need to comply with the Chinese law, and some of the differences are just kind of marketing decisions made by Tencent just to make more money, just to make the product more appealing to more people and sell it to more people and make more money out of it, which in some cases ends up opening doors for nice features to be implemented, and in some cases ends up opening door for pay to win and like horrible things that I would never want to see in the global version of PoE. So I'm going to talk a little bit about one and the other. The good things about this version, or maybe let's start with something that is less related to like the important thing, but the less important thing is the censorship, right? A lot of things in the Chinese PoE are censored. For example, blood, skeletons, things like that. Like you cannot have skulls, right? So like things like SRS, things like someone's skeleton, you just end up like, I don't know, summoning fully clothed dudes, and like all the skeletons end up looking kind of like mummies, like just random dudes with no features, like they end up looking like mummies pretty much. So that kind of sucks. That, like, think of like PoE is like the most gory, gritty, dark action RPG. And it really takes away from the game, in my opinion, if you censor all of that out. Like even freaking organs that are like, you pick up Chevron, like Malakai's liver or heart or lungs in one of the zones, they're all also censored. Like you end up picking up like a concrete block with like a slight outline of the organ. Like there's so much censorship in the game that, to me, it really breaks the immersion, and it makes it like, it makes it really not appealing. But that's just my personal opinion on that. So that's one big change between the two versions of PoE. That's because of the Chinese law, right? The games cannot depict violence in the way that they can depict everywhere else, pretty much. Another change that is very much talked about is the fact that there is a certain pet you can buy. You basically pay for that pet, and the pet picks up currency for you. I don't know what kind of currency. I've seen it pick up like maybe scrolls. It picks up chance orbs, alchemy orbs, maybe some other things. Like basically, it picks up some stuff for you, which basically saves you time, saves you some clicks, and think about it, automates the game for you a little bit. And it's a pretty complicated issue. So on one hand, I'm very, very much against it. On the other hand, it addresses some of the things that PoE definitely needs to fix. So GGG are working on revamping the loot system because they are aware that too much stuff is dropping. It breaks the performance of the game. It makes you click too many times and so on. So they want to change that and they want to improve that. And this pet kind of fixes some of that issue. But also what this pet does is introduces more pay to win to the game. And I know there is already some pay to win in the game in the form of currency stash tabs and things like that. Yes, that is pay to win, but more pay to win is not good for the game, right? You don't want more of it. You want to keep it as small as possible. Like you can basically think of it like if you want to play the game seriously, if you want to invest a lot of time, you wait for the sale, you buy the basic stash tabs that you need, like you buy like a few stash tabs, maybe you buy like a couple of supporter packs, right? Where you play one season, you buy a supporter pack, another season buy another small supporter pack, and you're good, you're set, and you got also some free MTX for it if you want to look at it that way. So yes, there is some pay to win, but this is like there is a pet that's like temporary and you pay less for it, and then a permanent pet costs like $150 if you exchange the currency to dollars, I think. So that's a huge amount, and I really don't like that. There should be, if there is such a feature, it should be available to everyone, and then maybe you can monetize the skins for it, right? So you can have ugly pet for everyone and cute pets for the MTX, right? So that's but there are ways of making that work, right? So if it was free, if it was only picking up like splinters for you and like annoying shit that is not distinct, right? That would be cool. Or maybe if it only picks up, I don't know, only picks up mirrors and exalted orbs or something. Like make it like either it ensures that you won't miss something super important, or maybe it just picks up the annoying little shit like this, picks up scrolls and splinters only, right? Something like that maybe could work if it was available to everyone. Let's say you have to do a quest and you get it, right? Or something like that, and then you can buy skins for it. Because definitely picking up all the splinters, that's like just an annoying thing. Like I understand how the fact that you drop a unique and you see it on the ground, and then or drop an exalted orb and you see it on the ground, and then you go and hover over it and then you pick it up to your inventory, that action gives value to the item, and a lot of stuff like that goes way over people's heads and they don't understand it because they're not game designers. But GGG has a really good point with that, with keeping that feel, right? But that is not applicable really to like fucking breach splinters that are completely useless right now, and you should pretty much remove them from your filter because you're gonna get full breach stones from delirium rewards, right? So some of that can be fixed by filters, just filter all of that out. But so that's one issue. Another thing that is different is that there is a passive tree planner, right? So there is sort of like very, very, very limited PoB, which is Path of Building, built into the Path of Exile game. And that is definitely something that would be nice to include. Just having a little bit more visibility, like an optional panel that you can show that will give you some extra information about how you're allocating your skill points and what it will result in. And maybe you can import builds into the game that way so that they can see where you're supposed to go, so that you don't have to alt tab between Path of Building and the game. However, if you're playing this game seriously, Path of Building as a standalone thing outside of Path of Exile is actually a really good thing, and it's better, much better than that build planner could ever be. However, that build planner could also be a nice addition, and I think from what I've heard, GGG was working on that, and the Tencent just decided to implement that, even if it's not complete. They just implemented it, and it might not work exactly how GGG would like it to work and look, but Tencent just implemented it right away without really. Without hesitation, right? They just see that feature and they just added it. Makes the game slightly more appealing and easier for newer players. Many of the newer players, the ones that are more casual, however, I don't feel like it's necessary. It doesn't do anything for me or players who are more invested into this game, but sure, they could implement that. Another change is trading. There is some sort of automated trading. Basically, you can search for basic items, like you can search for unique or some items that have specific stats, and then trade for them with like a window that doesn't require you to meet other players, and there's an automatic kind of buyout, and basically when both players agree, then the item gets exchanged on like through, without having to go to somebody's hideout and without having to go to the official trade website or the PoE trade, which I definitely one thing I want to say: don't use PoE trade. Use the official trading site, because PoE trade has very big delay issues and so on. But what people are not saying, like people hear that and they're like, "Oh, that's so amazing! Why doesn't GGG implement that?" The thing is, it is implemented by GGG in a way. It's on the console version of the game, and people who play on the consoles say that it's fucking horrible, and it just makes them play solo self-found because it's impossible to like filter and sort, and like you have to look through all of the listed items. You cannot filter all of the stats however you want and like pick, I want a minimum 50 life on this item and this match resistances of that kind and so on. You cannot filter all the things as you can on the website. So website is much better. But that's like if you quickly want to pick up, I don't know, a Wanderlust or something, then that's very useful. But it doesn't really take you less time. Like if you have a bookmark to the trading website, you just do it just as fast. But sure, there could be some kind of a trading like that in a game. However, the moment I saw someone like open it up, find a unique, put the currency in and trade for it, to me it was like, well, what's the value of that unique now? Like that's like, why doesn't it? Might as well just everyone have all of this unique accessible all the time. I don't know. I definitely noticed like how what GGG says about the trading and the value of the items being like inflated or increased or making like more significant by the fact that you have to go and actually trade for the item. It definitely works. Like they're 100% correct about the fact that this is a real thing, that the tangibility of the trade really matters, right? I still think the trade should be improved and that they should work on making it better and find some maybe compromise or some better solution. But I think it's really difficult, and the way that it is that Tencent has it implemented definitely doesn't solve that, and it definitely doesn't fix it, and you still would use the trading website even if they implemented that, because you just simply cannot sort items as well in that instant buyout thing. So that's another thing. There are some other changes. Like what are also another changes? Some changes are like more. Definitely they have like some more events, right? Even though this is a community organized event, this is not organized by the game devs. There are still some extra events and rewards that could be really nice. But a lot of the things that they include in the game, I find actually like that they are against the spirit of PoE. So the spirit of PoE is that it's a challenging game and it's a rewarding game, right? It's a challenging game in the sense that it's difficult to wrap your head around all of these different variables, all of these items, all of these attributes, all of these passives. It's so complicated and complex, but it rewards you every time you learn something about it. You can basically play it for a year and keep learning, play it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You keep learning new things, and it rewards you for every amount of time you put into it, and you put some effort into learning a build, into learning a mechanic, and you get rewarded by making a much better build, and then you have more fun with the build because you're just smashing the content because you learned something, right? So you earned that. Just like if you play the game and you die in the story, and then you're like, why am I dying? And then people are telling you, well, do you have your resistances capped? And you're like, no. And then you cap your resistances, and then you're not dying anymore. You learned something, you feel rewarded for it. But on the Chinese version, a lot of the bosses and a lot of the quest rewards during the stories give you much better items. Like, for example, you're guaranteed movement speed boots from a certain quest. You're guaranteed certain currency from a certain quest. So you're not learning how to how to build your character. Because if you have your character without movement speed boots and then you find them suddenly, right? They drop. Like you're level 30 something, movement speed boots drop, and you're like, wow, that actually feels much better. And then you're like, okay, how do I get it next time? I can't just rely on getting lucky. How do I do it? And then you're like, discover the recipe. You discover you can craft that. You discovered maybe that it's a prefix, and then it teaches you about the game, because it's actually more valuable when that happens rather than just game giving it to you. So the game giving you so many rewards, like so many more rewards during the story, and because of some events, like there are like events where for this week or this weekend you have 10% more rarity. Like that sucks to me. Like why am I getting that? How did I earn that? Like what's the value of that, right? It's just artificially trying to force people to play the game whether they like it or not, because maybe I'm gonna get lucky now, you know. Like I really don't like that. I really don't like that approach. I find that GTG leaning more toward like making the game harder but more rewarding is much better for the game. And I definitely, through researching a little bit about how the Tencent version of the game works, gained a new appreciation for how GGG is handling a lot of this stuff. They're stuck in a limbo with a lot of these things because it's like they're not moving in on implementing shitty changes, so they're still not fixing all the issues, right? There's still issues in the game. And the thing is, the Tencent way of approaching it, sure, it can patch up a little bit of those issues, but it creates more issues that are like irreversible. And that's what GGG is trying to avoid, creating irreversible damage to their game, because once you give something to the players, it's really hard to take it away. So that's why they're not doing super easy trading. They're not doing way easier things. Like they actually increased the difficulty because of the story, because it was too easy. People were going through it too quickly, so they increased the difficulty. And now like adding all these extra rewards and things like that would really feel bad and counterproductive and counterintuitive. So that's it. I just wanted to clear up some misconceptions about the race and the Tencent stuff. If you have some good information about the differences of the between the global version and the Chinese version of PoE, and if I got anything wrong in this video and you want to correct me on that, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.